Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. In our top story at 7, we're hearing that any increase for civil servants in the future will be dependent on the state of the economy and on government finances. It's coming from Prime Minister Stewart. He made the comments at a luncheon at Illawarra Court for the media as part of the 50th anniversary celebrations of Barbados' independence. Our Peter Thorne is in our media center with more. Peter?
Good evening, Lisa. I can tell you it was a methodical, a confident and assured Prime Minister Stewart who spoke to senior representatives of the media at Illawarra Court as he hosted a 50th anniversary of independence luncheon this afternoon. All told, we were there for just a short of 4 hours, and the Prime Minister, he spoke to the media practitioners for about 2.5 hours on the burning issues of the day. These issues included the Cahill issue, water woes for residents in the north, the Auditor General's report, Barbadians shouldering part of the cost of their education at the Cahill campus of the University of the West Indies and the other campuses of the UWI, and the rock-hard cement issue. Increases for public servants are concerned. Prime Minister Stewart says these would have to be linked to the state of the economy at the time and the state of government's finances.
Therefore, when we sit down to negotiate with public officers, what we are able to agree on will be linked to the state of the Barbados economy and the state of the government's finances. When I last met with the National Union of Public Workers, for example, some time ago, we discussed not only settlements related to salary, but there are some non-salary items in which public officers were also interested, according to what their trade unions were saying at the time. And we have been looking at some of those issues as well with a view to establishing some kind of balance between settlements that involve the payment of money and settlements that involve an enlargement of the opportunities for public officers to enjoy better conditions of service.
Mr. Stewart says that he's looking favorably at suggestions to ensure that public officers who collide with the law don't have their pension rights taken away from them. As far as the deficit is concerned, Prime Minister Stewart says that at one time it hovered at over 10% of GDP, and now it's been reduced to just around 5%.
We halved it, and we are in the process of continuing to bring it down. I believe the deficit projected for this fiscal year is about 5%. We hope, in fact we intend, that by the end of the fiscal year that we should have had it even lower than that, but that of course is going to require some fairly significant decisions to be made. We are in the process of restructuring our state-owned enterprises, which have been a cause for great concern to the government for a little while now.
Mr. Stewart says he's received a request from Chief Justice Sir Marson Gibson for the appointment of 3 temporary judges to deal with a backlog of over 160 persons on remand at Dodds Prison.
Only on Monday I got a letter from the Chief Justice asking me if I would give consideration to appointing 3 temporary judges. He sent me a list of, I think, 161 persons on remand at Dodds awaiting trial, and he did not think that backlog could be handled by the present complement of judges we have who have to do their current work, and he suggests he was recommending that 3 temporary judges be appointed to deal with this very substantial backlog.
Stating that he has no interest in interfering with the judiciary, Prime Minister Stewart told journalists he's been hit for 6 on the issue of murder accused getting bail.
But I have to confess to you that that one hit me for 6, and I have quietly discussed it with the Attorney General to see whether there's anything we need to do in a small, highly personalized society. There's something blood-curdling about knowing that somebody slaughtered somebody in your community and just a few months later you go into the supermarket and run into them.
As far as the Cahill plasma gasification plant is concerned, Mr. Stewart says no application was made up to today on the issue, contending that the matter was put on the table in 2005 but was not taken up by the former BLP government. He also says he never signed any agreement or accord binding Barbados to any liability in this regard. Mr. Stewart called on permanent secretaries as chief accounting officers to be more vigilant in their departments and to assist the Auditor General in his work. Well, Lisa, as far as the restoration of the 10% of MP salary is concerned, Prime Minister Stewart told journalists that when the 8% was restored by the former BLP government, there was no public outcry. And he's contending that the same thing is happening now to MPs who agreed to give up their salaries over a 19-month period. He says this is a moral issue he is prepared to fight for, terming suggestions of an increase by the opposition Barbados Labour Party as a monstrous lie.
Well, Peter, just one more quick question. Did the Prime Minister speak anything about the multi-purpose sugar factory that is proposed for St. Andrew?
Yes, he did speak about that. He said it's an issue we would have to confront and that we have to move into that in terms of a multi-purpose factory. You know, there were two contending suggestions as to where it should be located. The former BLP government was contending that it should be located at the now defunct Buckley factory, whilst the DLP has accepted the recommendation that it be at the Andrews factory there in St. Joseph. But he says that would have to be re-equipped. It's being done now and the financing is being sorted out. It's out of production as Sportville is the lone factory in operation at this moment. Even though he acknowledged that sugar was down under 10,000 tons. In fact, the exact production this year was 7,010 tons that we produced in terms of the sugar crop. But if you're moving to a multi-purpose factory, it would include producing electricity and other specialty brands of sugar where Barbados could benefit from, along with ethanol. So I think he's very much in on that, and he's looking forward to trying to get that factory up and running.
Well, thank you very much, Peter, for that comprehensive report and for that correction. The factory is actually the Andrews Sugar Factory in St. Joseph. Well, with just 3 days into the 2016 Atlantic hurricane season, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency is calling on Barbados and the region to reflect on the predictions made in 2015. That year was forecast to be below average. However, Executive Director of SEDEMA, Ronald Jackson, says a number of systems impacted several Caribbean states.
Forecast was by and large realized. We saw events ranging from tropical storms Danny, Erica, Kate, as well as Hurricane Joaquin, which wreaked havoc within the Caribbean and sections of North America. In the case of Joaquin, which impacted Barbados, we can recall that there was in excess of $121 million lost, impacting the southern islands of the Bahamas and resulting in total across the areas impacted of over 34 deaths. In the case of Tropical Storm Erica, which impacted Dominica, we recall that they experienced losses equal to just about half of its gross domestic product.
Mr. Jackson says the Caribbean is a vulnerable region and he wants its people and respective agencies to be prepared. The SEDEMA boss is of the view that preparations should not start on June 1st. He's concerned about the state of the health systems of some member states and their fire departments. Although SEDEMA members have embarked on their preparedness activities, Mr. Jackson called for improvements in the testing of standard operating procedures and for more volunteers to come on board. He also wants to see the region's early warning systems enhanced.
Oftentimes what we find are instruments that collect data and log data, but the whole system of early warning has to be people-centered, has to reach the person, the last mile in the communities, and activate a community response towards these particular warnings. So one of the things we're looking at is the full suite of early warning, all the elements of early warning to be treated, not just the Met Office providing notice to the public, but how the public reacts to these notices.
Barbados has its work cut out if it's to adapt and respond to the challenges posed by climate change. That was the message to environmental stakeholders during a national dialogue on the issue hosted at the Savannah Hotel this morning. It was part of activities for June, which is being celebrated as Environment Month. The discussion focused on Barbados's NDC, or National Determined Contribution, to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Environment, Edison Allen, speaking on behalf of Minister Dr. Dennis Lowe, outlines some of the challenges Barbados is facing going forward.
The adaptation challenge to build our resilience to climate change is a far more complex and significant issue. Barbados's NDC identify agriculture, fisheries, tourism, water, human health, coastal resources, and human settlements as our most vulnerable sectors. It is therefore expected that these will be addressed as priority areas for adaptation action, though not to the exclusion of others.
Marketing Officer at the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, Alicia Hinson, says non-nationals just can't get enough of Q in the community. According to her, tourists all over the world, particularly in the U.S. and Canada, continue to express interest in the program via the web channel. That's why the program will be shot in Canada, and the Q team left Barbados yesterday for the show. But before leaving, Ms. Hinson said taking the program outside of Barbados is allowing the country to connect with the world.
It gives CBC that opportunity to bring the communities and the Barbadians in those territories a little closer together. So we're really, really happy. Most people watch Q in the community on web and via the live stream. So they now get a real feel of what Q in the community is like there.
Ms. Hinson says the branding aspect is one that Q will be focusing on this time around.
We're going to explore some branding because it has been heavily requested by tourists coming to Barbados and those overseas that they want the branded material. So we're gonna exploit that opportunity.
The official start of the crop over season is nearing, and Calypso tents are ready to open their doors. One such tent is the Cape Shepherd AllStars. This year, patrons are being assured of excellence, as manager Eleanor Rice-Watkins says AllStars continues to be the standard bearer of social commentary in Barbados.
As evidenced by the consistency with which we send persons to the pick of the crop finals and semi-finals. And I could not be more proud of that fact. It does not matter how challenging the last 2 years were, the rewards were far bigger as new bright talent shone all the way to the biggest Calypso stage.
The Cape Shepherd AllStars tent opens on June 11th at Solidarity House. Ms. Rice-Watkins says amongst its cast is a blend of experience, youth and talent. She named the lineup during a press launch attended by team members, sponsors and supporters.
Adela, Aziza, cameraman, Charisma, Colin Spencer, and yes, Colin Spencer is with the tent this year, Dabba the Visual, Dija, Donella, the announcer, Hee-Haw, Aishaka, JL, Kidside, Kinky Star, Miguel, Richard Antonio, Screwface, Shawnee, and Sparkle T. Hyper Songs, Damien Etienne, has given his commitment to performing with the tent if his overseas schedule permits.
Chief Operating Officer of Cape Shepherd, David Petrzak, signaled his company's commitment to the tent. He says good music fuels the Crop Over Festival.
Each year we are encouraged to continue due to the efforts and hard work of those involved with the management of the tent, Eleanor, and the quality of the production that is put on along with the show of results, and the Calypsonians reach the semifinals and finals. The pick of the crop competition with their valued contributions. We are grateful for the opportunity to give back to our customers who love and appreciate this time of year.
There's more news ahead in just a moment. Stay with us.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153# to sign up to Digicel today.
Come, take a peek into summer with Liat. With fares discounted from 15% off to all islands where Liat fly. Go see family, friends, and festivals or bring them to you. Visit www.liat.com or call 1-888-844-LIAT or your local travel agent. But hurry to book the lowest fares until May 29th for travel anytime between May 16th and July 29th. Your promo code PEAK. That's P-E-E-K. But hurry, these discounts only last till May 29th. Terms and conditions apply.
It's not about exercising. It's having the strength to do what you're passionate about. It's not about the road traveled. It's about the one to be traveled. An important thing in life is finding the perfect balance between body and soul. With a bottle of Ensure, you get the proteins, calcium, and 26 vitamins and minerals your body needs to live the best moments of your life with strength and energy. Your life, your health, your Ensure.
Alawi, our Warriors. Catch all of the action of the one-day international home series, West Indies versus Australia versus South Africa on CBC TV 8, starting at 1 p.m. on June 3rd to June the 26th. Check cbc.bb for a full listing of the dates and times.
All of the traditions, all of the passion and the drama, all the stars of today and the stars of tomorrow. The free kicks, the skills, the tackles, the saves and the goals of the world's most popular league are heading to one place. Every team and every game live, only with Flow, the new home of the Premier League. Flow, changing the game.
The sargassum seaweed, which plagued local tourism last year, is now making its mark on the fishing industry. This time around, flying fish has been relatively scarce, and fisher folk are pleading with locals to open their minds to new varieties of fish. The hurricane season has started, and while it means anxiety for most people, for fisher folk it signals the end of a rough fishing season. Over in Sixmens, St. Peter, one fishing boat owner, Pedro Hines, says the day boats experienced a particularly poor season, especially for flying fish. Mr. Hines says while many blame the notorious sargassum seaweed, he believes fisherfolk need to venture a bit further into the deep. And though he hasn't done much research, he says while the flying fish are not in abundance, several varieties of other fish have arrived with the seaweed.
I find that Barbadians don't like a change. My position is that if you can't get flying fish and the turpets and the conchlees are plentiful and the price reasonable too, because you get turpets now at about $2 a pound or less, conchlees about $4 a pound, and but you know, Bajans they want the flying fish.
Mr. Hines is disappointed that there are not more facilities to accommodate larger ice boats. He says the decision affected trade in the area.
And it seems so ludicrous in that Western probably got about 2 fishing launches, Spicestone has none, Sixmens got over 40 something, and no facilities. You know, it seems very ludicrous. I can't get it for growth. You know, Half Moon Fort they got about another 30 something boats, and no facilities for ice or storage of the fish. That's one of the problems that we are facing in the north.
Now, just down the road, boat owners appealed for government assistance in repairing a shed which housed fishermen for over 30 years. Today, it is barely standing as the sea has taken claim to its title. One fisherman says they would be grateful for the materials to construct it on their own.
If the rain fall before we left, there's only one place to go and shelter. No place else. That will cool off place. Yeah. Right there. Right there. Tell the fish. Yes, please. We like that.
And over in Spitestown, there were no boat owners, just an empty jetty in a bad state of repair. And that told the story as it forced boat owners to set up elsewhere. It also meant that vendors at the Spitestown market had to travel as far as Bridgetown to buy fish. One vendor took the time to laud the upgrades, but believes patrons prefer the traditional fish market.
Some people don't even know it's a market. They want this come. They sell fish in there. I say yes. I say, but they look in the market. So I don't know. It's just because I must be shutting or whatever.
Further south in the city, many of the fisherfolk say the season was off and on. They also experienced a shortage of flying fish.
One time we used to get flying fish like $20, $25, $100, but flying fish went as far as $180 per 100, and that's nothing that's normal.
Between the full moon going off to the last quarter moon, when those moons gone, things slow off a lot.
From all reports, however, one thing is for certain: the fishing industry in Barbados is here to stay. Local non-governmental organizations are being encouraged to join together in their charitable efforts. This was the message from President of the Barbados Vagrants and Homeless Society, Kimar Safri, as he spoke at the first National NGO Network Summit at the Barbados Hilton Hotel. He says the summit gives the NGOs a chance to network and put collaborative efforts in place.
We thought that if we bring together all the NGO organization and also those who want to be a part of NGO sectors and those who are aspiring to become a part of NGO, we thought the best to bring them together, network them, let them hear from the panel of donors and NGO leaders and the corporate sector all in one, to actually show them and to tell them what it is that they look for. What is, and they rightfully said today that they look for collaboration, they look for efforts that we put together in the NGO sector to make the NGO a lot better and a lot more sustainable.
Registered NGOs will also receive some assistance from local tech company Simplified Apps Inc. in the form of free.bb domain names.
Simplified Apps could be able to work in a project that allows us to build 50 WordPress websites for 50 NGOs, free of cost, in full collaboration with the BCC. In fact, BCC is supplying 30 students that are working at the Ministry of Education currently right now, preparing, and from this event being launched today, we will be preparing 50 websites from the list of registered NGOs.
We'll have regional news next. Stay with us.